okay, automation, where should people be looking?
I'd say always think about what would I hire an entry-level admin person to do for me. Number one, there's follow-up. So if I'm creating an email about an hour-long discovery call I had with someone, I can use my AI tools to pull all of the relevant points that we covered, put that in my follow-up email to say, these are the things we covered. Am I missing anything critical?
Do you need to crunch data faster? Do you need your tools talking to one another? Do you need to have more thorough, high value follow up? Like, what's the business strategy happening? Who are we targeting? How do we bring value? And what problem is creating friction in our own businesses that we need to solve? Hey, everybody, and welcome to the live version of the Marketing Blender Show. I'm Dacia Coffey.
And I'm Daisy McCarty.
All right, so we've done a lot of different formats with lives. Sometimes you guys send us questions ahead of time. Sometimes you post them live while we're live. And so on that note, the fabulous Samaria Boyd is our producer today. And so if you guys do have questions, please shout out because she'll be watching those and sharing them with us. But this is meant to be a really great discussion to give you super practical information. And the big topic today that we've gotten so many questions on is about AI in B2B marketing. And so this one's fun. I'm going to be honest, like way vulnerable here though, that, I'm a late adopter on this. I just keep yes, I'm adopting it, but not to the level that I feel like I need to be. And so I'm kind of on y'all's side right now, like on that side of the camera in regards to, but I'm really excited to have this conversation. I mean, Samaria has been using it very aggressively a lot. You have, a lot of our team members have. And so I'm excited to dive in.
Yes. Well, it's impossible to use all of the new stuff that's coming out with AI because now AI is creating more AI stuff for us all to use. So you really do have to make choices around what am I going to use? What am I going to wait and see? What am I going to wait till it gets better before I use it? And what are the things I need to do right now so I'm capturing the competitive advantage of being an early adopter?
Agreed. Okay, so just to make sure we don't forget, let's talk about the things you should not use AI for in B2B marketing.
Absolutely. So number one thing, AI cannot build a marketing strategy for you. AI is a research tool. It can help you uncover tactics and opportunities, but it is not now and will never be able to strategize in the way that humans do because we, in the marketing field, have more insight into human behavior and into what it's like to be on the receiving end of marketing than AI will be able to do.
Agreed. I mean, it's a learning tool. Like, it takes inputs, it magnifies them, but yeah, it's not going to be bringing that creative spark and that really disciplined thoughtfulness around what's going to happen. Strategically too, AI should not be used for positioning decisions, differentiation decisions. Like, it's fine for content, but there is a very big difference between strategic content that you are making long-term impactful decisions around versus tactical content in order to increase volume, in order to increase, your effectiveness of the kind of marketing content you're putting out there. So messaging, no, strategic messaging is a big no for me.
For sure. I would say also, I know it's quick and easy and cheap to have AI create a logo for you, but there's a lot more thoughtfulness that needs to go into your brand identity than, let me just input some text and let it spit out some stuff.
Agreed.
Because you're always going to end up looking like somebody else because generative AI, that's how it works. It takes what everybody else is doing and it changes it a bit and it gives it to you. So if you want something that's really unique for your brand, you need to be, sure, use AI to generate some ideas and some concepts. That's fine, but don't just think that you can create a unique and compelling brand by typing something into AI and having it spit out a logo.
Completely agree. And that one's tricky for startups because does a logo generate revenue? No. However, it becomes a core portion of your identity and there's a cascading effect of decisions. Again, we're back to decisions. If it is a core element of how you proceed from a decision-making standpoint, very dangerous. Yes. I completely agree.
If it's making the first impression and a lasting impression, and there's a cost that comes every time you rebrand. Sometimes you can get a lot of great attention out of rebranding, but also then you have to go back and redo everything. So put in the extra effort, put in the extra investment up front.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so let's go ahead and move into what are the most common usages that you should be considering for B2B marketing and using AI, and what we're seeing. So I already mentioned one, content, volumes of content, good content, different kinds of content, repurposing of content. I mean, there's a million different directions that you can go with this, and we'll get a little bit more specific, but I think that's at the top of the list.
It definitely is. And I would say the other place to look at AI is how can you use that to create some automation within your processes. So I know we'll be talking about both of those things, but I would say absolutely content creation, especially slicing and dicing your existing content. So this is something that we'll do with our content because we do have unique thought leadership content. We can use AI to reuse that in a lot of different ways, and it's still unique to us.
Yeah.
Because we have a proprietary data set that we're feeding to it. It's not just aggregating a bunch of information off the internet and creating mashed potatoes with gravy.
Yes.
This is bland output for that.
100%. Like, I'm testing a social media platform around my personal brand, and it's all the things I'm thinking. Like, I'm taking a lot of time to implement specific parts of the book, certain thoughts, that I have, and training it with my voice so that if it's going to post, or not post, but, create 50 or 75 different posts, I really want to be confident that, okay, that's really me, and I'm not going back and editing every single one of them. So I'm trying to actually go slow so that later I can go faster, so I can feel really good that has truly captured my point of view, and then I hopefully will speed up efficiency.
Sure. I think we obviously need to ask Samaria.
Yeah.
What AI tool should people be using now?
Honestly, there's so many. I think my favorite is Google Gemini, not just because I'm a Gemini, but also because I feel like the answers it gives can be, because a lot of the times, I'll just say it like this, like, you have to edit what AI is giving you to make it a little bit more human. So I think for me, the reason why I like Google Gemini a little bit better is because you can go back and ask it to rewrite something or to insert something. And I think that works best when you're repurposing content. So I definitely think Google Gemini is one. Another one that I think people sleep on a lot is, I think it's called Claude AI or Poe 3. I can't remember which one it is. I just know, I know it is Claude.
Yeah.
But I know that there's like
Claude.
a Poe something next to it. But I like that one as well. It spits out responses pretty quickly, and it's one of the only ones that you don't have to pay for to add a document. So that's nice. If you need to kind of like slice, like you said, slice and dice up your content and reuse some of it. The other thing is, the other one that I would say people should be using is, if you're in Canva, I think most of their AI tools are pretty cool. They have the AI mockup tool. The only one that I'm still trying to figure out how to use is the one where you just kind of create a picture from nothing, just words.
Yeah.
That's always fun. I think I had a good time trying to do some AI stuff around the eclipse and create different settings, and watching the sun be put into like fire pits instead of it being in the sky, watching the sun, So it's been fun, just kind of meddling around with that. But I guess the tools that I would probably recommend people use the most are the chatbots. I think those are going to be the better AI tools as of right now. I think as we move forward with photo and video, even though there are some that are really real, I think for now, I would stick with the chatbots, use as much real photo as possible, because AI does do the weird thing with the fingers and the faces and all that fun stuff. So
it's
Princess
funny.
Bride, 6-fingered man.
Right. So there was I remember seeing on social media, there was this photo editor, and he would deliberately misinterpret what people were telling him to do with their photos. I don't know if you guys have seen that, but it was like, remove this person, and it would like take him and put him on top of the Eiffel Tower. Just like weird stuff. I feel like the AI graphic prompts tools are kind of like that. It's like deliberately misunderstanding. Like, how could you, only a non-human could misinterpret that in the
Yes.
unique way, which creates some funny stuff, but not necessarily very useful stuff.
There's a couple of different people that I follow. They're using a lot of the AI generated images, like Samaria was mentioning, and especially for them, where it's what if I am in steampunk gear, or what if I'm in like on Mars, or look at me if I was a 1940s pinup girl, or if I worked in a manufacturing plant. And the images, when done well, are beautiful, but they're still not you, and so I think there's some really interesting, fun usage of it, but like that, where all of a sudden we are only these made up, idealized versions of ourselves. I really struggle with that one. I'm like, you know what? I don't need a whole nother version of self-loathing in this world. Like, I just want to be me. I'm going to show up and add some value, and so it's interesting because I think the beauty of them is we're seeing, really major strides, and I just don't know if I'm a fan. So I guess everybody has to kind of make their own decision on that one.
Yes, there's artificial and there's fake, and unfortunately, there's enough fake already. We don't need more of that.
Yeah, exactly. No, Samaria, I'm curious if you still do this, because I know at one period, like at one point in time when you were really adopting a lot more, you were constantly using multiple tools because Jasper would do this better than ChatGPT, and then Gemini finally got launched and you were testing out this. And so you would, you were really mixing and matching. Are you still having to do that?
I do that a lot just because, the one thing about AI is that they're typically pulling from the same place. So sometimes they'll either spit out the same exact thing, or sometimes you get something totally different. And I think it's also really funny because like each of them, I know that a lot of people may disagree, but when I read the posts that they create, or like just anything, any kind of content, they each have their own voice. So like they'll either be super, like you have to direct the AI to do the thing that you want it to do or sound the way you want it to sound. And I just thought it was really funny because I put the same prompt in ChatGPT, Claude, and Google Gemini, and I got totally different tones. One was way more salesy. The other was just like super ecstatic, like overly ecstatic. And then the one that I got from Claude was very like, here is this. Like, it just felt like I was reading like a infomercial in a way. Yeah. It was very like flat. So I'll typically, if I am creating content with AI and I'm like going through and reading things and I feel like something needs to change, I'll pull from each one something that I like, and then I'll rewrite it most of the time. I know that sounds like a dumb fourth step, but like sometimes it makes me feel better to know that like I've actually like put my input in and I'm not just listening to these robots, because AI will eventually take over, I guess, but we'll see. But anyways, yeah, I still do the piecing from.
I think that's actually a great tip. It's a really good insight that the content still has to be good. Like, you should not just be pushing stuff out, willy-nilly, and not really reviewing it and not having ownership around the voice and the tone and, the perspective of how the audience is going to engage with it. So that's awesome. Love it.
I think the next big bucket of questions, and I've been getting this from our clients and from our network, is around SEO, what's happening with search. Because guess what? The first third of the page is now that search generative experience, SGE. Of course, now we have to have another acronym where Google is basically using their own AI to aggregate and present answers to questions, stripping all of your branding out of it.
Yep.
So they're taking your content and they're using it to serve it up without you even getting the credit for it.
Yep.
That's a problem.
I know. And I'm super curious how this is eventually going to affect paid. I don't have any answers on this, but it feels like there's going to be a little cannibalization around, if they own the answers, how are they going to get companies to pay for it? But I digress.
So I'm actually going to touch on that because I think it's an important point. I have an opinion
I love
about
that.
it. So obviously Google is saying, well, this is for the greater good. So, personalization, it's taking people's social media activity and using that in their algorithm to decide what's most important to them. Giving overviews, it's providing more analytics.
Yep.
And so I've got a number of recommendations around how do you stay relevant when Google is stealing your eyeballs and stealing your traffic, and you've put all this effort into creating good content and ranking well and doing things the right way with SEO, and now you're getting pushed further and further down the page, and they're eating up that top third where you should be. First of all, don't abandon your SEO efforts. So best practices for organic SEO are still 100% relevant. So you should be creating properly optimized content. Definitely pay a lot of attention to adding that expertise and that direct experience. So in the EEAT acronym, the more unique your content is, the more likely it is that you'll be quoted as an expert on something, because AI is going to kind of come up with the middle ground of a lot of different answers, but it's also looking for stuff that's more unique, because even AI recognizes that it's kind of regurgitating what everybody is saying without adding a whole lot of value, which is not in the end what people want. I would say the second thing is that you will need to review your paid strategy, because guess what? The sponsored content is still showing up above the AI generated search results. So yes, we're going to see, and I think this is part of the plan.
Yeah.
Because, okay, how do we make it where people have to pay for what they used to get for free is what every single platform has done. Facebook did it. LinkedIn did it.
Yeah.
This is Google doing it.
Yep.
Now, if you want to show up first, you have to pay, because your beautifully optimized content in position number 1 is still below the scroll.
Great point.
Now.
Such a great point.
I would say I'm seeing that. One thing I would say also is that being an authority is going to be more important. So we've always talked with our clients around, what's your domain authority? How do you compare to the other sources that people go to?
Yes.
In my view, domain authority is going to take on a lot more importance, because that's one of the factors that AI is going to be using in terms of who do they trust.
Yeah.
So paying attention to your domain authority is going to be important.
Agreed.
I would say I'm also actually seeing, when I'm doing research for my clients around their content, I am seeing that the efforts that we've put into building their domain authority and their organic search results means that they are being the ones cited. So if I'm doing research and I'm asking for statistics and citations, my clients are the ones that are coming up. In a ChatGPT query and things like that. And I would also say I'm seeing that some of our clients are getting, in Google Search Console, lower impressions. So impressions are taking a dive, and this has been happening over the last year.
Oh, absolutely.
However, they're getting higher clicks and higher click-through rates.
That's right.
And what does that mean? That means even though everything has pros and cons to it, one of the benefits is that these search results are actually often more relevant than they used to be. So this is something, if you're creating the right kind of content and you're making it specifically to serve your target market, it can actually work to your advantage to have the generative AI search tools driving more of the right traffic to your website. And you also have to recognize that those initial wave of search results, those are very top of funnel. That's early in the decision-making process. As people dig deeper, they're not trusting the AI-generated search results for their later stage consideration and buying decisions. They are going to be finding your specific website. They're going to be reading your specific content. So don't lose heart just because things have changed at the very top of funnel. There are ways that you can combat that and make sure you're maintaining your competitive advantage.
At the Marketing Blender, we have fractional CMOs and outsourced marketing teams to drive your success. The two most common problems that we are approached about is how do we break revenue plateaus and accelerate success, or how do we attribute marketing to revenue impact? And the answer is that we build a system, because your marketing should be driving revenue, it should be driving your reputation, and it should be driving resilience. If you want to learn more, check out themarketingblender.com. Sound amazing SEO strategy is absolutely critical and more important than ever. And even, how do those headlines read? Are you really tracking with the types of things, that people are enjoying? And especially, it's interesting because, those snippets now show you the pages, that it's pulling from in certain different ones. Sometimes, but it's very interesting because, especially when you do see it, it's amazing how you go, you know what, I just want to read that one. It happened to me this morning. There was one, for whatever reason, the headline was in pink and it was well written. And I thought, well, that's going to give me the information I want faster, and all things being equal, the one that did a better job at their marketing, won my eyeballs, and was something that I bookmarked. So,
and we have to remember, this is not that different from Wikipedia, because everybody who uses Wikipedia for research knows that you skim it, you go to the bottom, you find what are the sources, and that's where you get the real information. Same thing with the search generative experience.
Yeah, exactly. This is a little bit of a squirrel, but I also think it's so fascinating how much Reddit is now populating on SEO, and that was not a thing 12 months ago. And so that is very interesting. And, for me, it's a reminder that people trust people. They want to have real conversations. And I literally have found my search behavior where now I'm using Reddit to validate other things I'm reading, because I'm not just believing, those, AI generated, and curated answers. I'm going and I'm scanning over the conversations about what people are saying, what they're arguing. And I'm like,
it's unfiltered.
Bravo to that platform.
It's unfiltered human opinion. And that's interesting, because the more we're using and leveraging these AI and automation tools to make our search easier so we have less effort, at the same time, we know what's broken inside of that. Exactly. And humans are going to seek out the opinions of other humans.
Yeah, exactly. And we have seen people, our clients, start getting leads from ChatGPT and from some of this. So like you said, it's about the keyword strategy, but it's still at play. This is still working. You've just got to be really thoughtful about it.
That's a really good point. People are using tools like ChatGPT for early stage research.
Yeah.
So, and I was talking to one of my clients just the other day, and they were like, I asked somebody how they found me, and they were like, well, I was looking in ChatGPT and you were recommended. And it was like, ooh.
So exciting.
All righty.
Because she has an awesome SEO strategy.
Expertise. Exactly. Yes. All of the things that she's supposed to be doing, she's doing. That's amazing.
Oh, it's so exciting. I know. So that's definitely one of the the more interesting, the SEO. I think it's just so critical that we're talking about that one. Now, you mentioned automation earlier, and I think this is another one where people really need to be thinking about this for B2B marketing. But I always want to frame it as, what problem are you trying to solve? Do you need to crunch data faster? Do you need your tools talking to one another? Do you need to have more thorough, high-value follow-up when it comes to your prospects? Is there an application where you can bring more value to your clients? So it's not just, and it goes back to just core marketing strategy. It's not like, should we do a webinar? Should we be on LinkedIn? Should we do paid campaigns? It's no. What's the business strategy happening? Who are we targeting? How do we bring value, and what problem is creating friction in our own businesses that we need to solve? Sometimes it's even, we need to reduce costs, or because we want to increase our marketing ROI. Okay, where's the healthy reduction in cost, that's not going to hurt your brand and is going to escalate, or allow you to steward your resources somewhere else. So what's your point of view when you're thinking okay, automation, where should people be looking?
I'd say always think about, what would I hire an entry-level admin person to do for me?
Nice. Yeah. Love that.
Because guess what? You got to train the AI just like you would train an intern. So think about, what are the things that you can get off your plate. I'll just give you a couple of examples of really good places to start. Number one, there's follow-up. So if the most effective way to follow up is to summarize a conversation, and repeat it back to someone in bullet point form. So if I'm creating an email about an hour-long discovery call I had with someone, I can use my AI tools to pull all of the relevant points that we covered and put that in my follow-up email to say, these are the things we covered. Am I missing anything critical? Right? So it's doing something that I would be doing anyway. And instead of me I took physical notes through the whole thing or scroll back through the entire transcript of a call. AI is getting really good at listening for, these were the problems that were discussed, these were the action items that were decided. Perfect way to accelerate people through the pipeline by showing that you were listening and you are both on the same page. There's no misunderstanding. So that's one way. I would say another way to automate is creating things like presentation decks. Especially start with ones for internal use. So you want to have branded communication for your internal employees. show them that you put the same amount of effort into communicating with them as you do with your external market. And one way to do that is to make sure if you're communicating, you've got everything in a nice slide deck. You're making it easy to consume. You've got the stuff for the visual learners. You've got stuff for the people who learn by listening, the people who learn by reading. And so it's a really good way to start experimenting with some of that automation of building things, even if it's just feeding in, these are the topics I want to talk about, just so it creates simple slides with the bullet points that people are going to take away. That's a way that you can make things easier, and it's adding value by up-leveling the look and feel of your communication.
Yeah, absolutely. And the automation experts out there that are very good at this, it's so fascinating. If you have a process that works, this is critical.
Yes.
You can't just randomly choose AI and go, in a perfect world, we would be following this process. But if you have a process that works, it's so interesting how different things can talk, how it can aggregate insights. It can automatically place them in your CRM or in an email, in a deck, and really just create this very efficient, high value. But you have to have been using the process for a while before you start letting all of the tools talk to each other just like that, and then always the QC, always
quality control. Samaria, any ways that you like using AI to streamline and automate workflows on your side?
Honestly, I don't really know. I don't know that I use any AI tools to automate any of the work that to automate any of the work I do, no. And the only reason why is because I get a little weary around what exactly, or how to set up these systems. So I haven't started adopting that part of it yet. And maybe I'm thinking about it a different way, because I do use it to create content.
Yeah, I think you're probably thinking of it in a slightly different way that I was talking about, because in my mind I was going, the descriptions of the shows.
Oh yeah.
Those are AI generated. This is the stuff we talked about. So I think that's a really good point, that a lot of times people don't understand that they're already using AI to streamline stuff because it's built into the platform.
Yes,
yeah.
Absolutely.
So yeah, you're using it. It's just they've made it so easy.
Yeah.
So yeah, and just looking for, what are the tools already available in the platforms that you're using? Because most of them are starting to create AI workflows for you.
Oh, yeah.
Another great place to start.
Yeah, absolutely. I know, because they're already perfecting it, and they have to, or they can't get paying customers.
Right.
I think it's, to Samari's point, if you are thinking about it like that, that is a great place to hire an AI coach or somebody that really knows, I'm a late adopter because of the amount of time, and diligence that I feel like I need to put so that nothing breaks. And I'm like, I need somebody else to figure it out and just train me.
You don't need garbage in, chaos out.
No, exactly.
Oh, goodness.
Okay, so we do use a lot of tools. So why don't we talk about the ones that we're loving and the ones that we're like, you're not quite there.
Sure. So I always tell people about Fathom Note Taker. This is by far the most effective and helpful tool that I've used. And guess what? The free version actually works really well. I almost feel bad. I'm like, I should just send them a donation because their tools are so awesome.
So good.
It's a tool that enters your Zoom or Team or Google Meets calls with you, and it documents everything in real time. So you have the recording after, you have the transcript afterward, but even during the call, it can tell you if you're talking too much.
Yeah.
So unless I'm doing a workshop, I should not be taking up 70% of the talk time.
Hello, sales calls.
And yes, it warns you you're monologuing.
Yes.
So take that back down. And it helps summarize the calls. I didn't even scratch the surface of all the stuff that it can do for me, because you can create to-do lists from it afterward and all of that. But yeah, I would say Fathom Note Taker has been an absolute game changer, especially the number of workshops that I run and presentations that I do.
Completely agree. Samaria had already listed some of our favorites. One of hers is Gemini. We love Jasper. Of course, everybody's familiar with ChatGPT, engaging with the Canva AI. These are really solid, very trustworthy, low-lying fruit applications that just increase your output and increase your efficiency. So,
and I would like to say just one thing about ChatGPT in terms of ways to make it work better.
Yeah.
So just a couple of quick tips. If you're using it for research, require it to provide statistics and cite the sources, so you can double check those. and use the prompt, do not hallucinate, so that it won't just make up stuff. It works, and you will get different results when it just gives you something that sounds true or true-ish versus something that actually had to go and find sources.
Do you ever feel like we're just in a meme world now, like where we literally actually have to do this? I know. I love it. I forgot to pull the name of this. What is the AI voiceover tool we've been using?
So 11 Labs is one of the voice tools that's really popular right now. It's decent. I'm still looking for, what I really want to find is one tool that will allow me to create slideshow videos with voiceover.
Oh, yeah, I'm not loving
in one
these yet.
tool.
Yep.
Now I can find things to do all the things. Here's one that's good at design. Here's the one that turns it into video. Here's the one that adds captions.
Agreed.
Here's the one that does voiceover. I have not found one that does all of it. So I'm like, somebody needs to solve that problem, because that's what I need for my clients to be able to generate short SEO video content.
Yeah.
Without having to get a human being.
Oh, 100%.
there.
I've been looking for that for sales follow-up resources, just things that are repeatable and high quality that shrink the time, as like a mini solid
And I was looking at one today. It was
agree.
like, you can do audio voiceover, but you have to upload an individual audio file for each slide. I'm like, that is absolute nonsense.
Yeah, it's
right.
It's a lot. I know, exactly. Before we move on to the tools we don't like, Samaria, any we've forgotten that you're like, okay, I'm also loving these?
Not that I can think of. The one tool that I do like, I think it's called Sonos. And this is not necessarily even marketing related, but you can create songs. Like, you can give it the copy or give it an idea and tell it like, hey, make a country song about, I don't know, B2B marketing, and it'll go do it.
Oh, we're going to
We are so doing this.
I don't know if it's Sonos. I might be naming it wrong. I have it written down somewhere, so
And we'll put it in the show notes later on.
It'll
I love it. So,
That's cool.
Oh, that's so fun. That's so fun. No, so that does move us over into the tools that we don't love. And I'm with you. Like, I feel so far we have some excellent ones in tiny little pockets, but then merging them slide decks. I'm not loving this. They pull the wrong photos. It's very time consuming if it got it wrong or if it interpreted. I've found I've had to teach them a lot. Definitely cannot find one where the voiceover is solid, and I just always end up being like, I should have just given it to a video editor.
Right.
I should not have even bothered trying with this, but I'm not loving those at all right now.
There's a tool I used about a year ago called adcreative.ai, and this was for creating ad graphics. I felt like they had potential, but the danger that I see with tools like that is, unless you've built in very strict brand guidelines, they will completely change the look and feel of your brand from one iteration to the next. So I'd be very hesitant to put this in the hands of someone and say, hey, make campaigns for me. You can upload your logo and your colors, but that doesn't mean what it spits out is going to look like your brand.
And it's going to get you ROI.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, we're not even talking about having it create copy, because it sucks.
I know. Exactly. Back to strategic.
Definitely don't ask it to write ad copy for you.
Synthesia. So that's the video, creator where there's a talking head. I know companies are starting to use this one out there. I've talked to a number of prospects and a couple clients that are playing around with it, and I'm still on this side. No.
Mm-hmm. It's in the uncanny valley. It's just not
right.
I'd rather have it just be a robot voice than it be just, that's not a human.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm still not loving those at all. You had mentioned Google Ads, Smart Campaign Builder. Where is Ramsey? I mean, he's probably grimacing if he's listening right now, because I completely agree with this.
It's a great way for Google to get more people to think that they can build a campaign and spend money. But no, you should definitely not have Google building your campaigns for you, because they don't know your business.
Exactly.
And the problem with it is you can't even take a smart campaign and optimize it, because they've locked you into certain decisions that you can't change.
Nope.
So we've had to, with clients who've brought us their smart campaigns that they built, we have to take it all the way down and rebuild from scratch. You can't even improve what's been created.
And side note, their sales reps that call don't give great advice, have frequently made recommendations that would absolutely break return on investment for our clients. And so,
yes, another thing to note is when they offer you the free ad money, they're offering you free ad money to maybe show up at the very bottom of a page. You're not going to get any placement out of that. So don't think, well, I can have Google build a smart campaign for me for nothing, and I get all this free ad money. You're wasting time.
We saw this so much with the $10,000 grants for nonprofits.
Yes.
Zero effectiveness because, you're just deprioritized. And so it doesn't even matter. I mean, we couldn't spend through that money. It was
No, you couldn't. You couldn't even get seen.
No.
I'd like to mention Surfer SEO.
Oh, yeah.
So I would say that the tools that help a beginner learn to start doing
I think
SEO.
Surfer's so perfect for that.
Great for that. If you've never done SEO before, you're like, I want to learn how to do this and I want to get my feet wet and have it like walk me through this and get there faster.
Yeah.
Great for that. However, it is not anywhere near as good as a human SEO expert because some keywords can look like they're the right fit, but if you don't know how human beings actually interact with those keywords, you can end up wasting a lot of time and money on things that are not actually appropriate for your business.
Yeah, I do agree. It is a fantastic training ground for the basic building blocks of SEO, what you should be thinking, what it's comparing you to. I mean, I definitely think it's a really good on-ramp for at least understanding what ranks and why it ranks, even though it's not a perfect tool. Like it's not robust enough for our clients. So.
And then I'd like to just mention a couple of tools I'm currently looking at right now.
Ooh, fun.
And if I find something that's awesome, I'll let you know. I am looking at Plus AI and Beautiful.ai for presentation making. I'm going to see, again, we invest money in creating some great templates for our clients. So if they can take the templates that I've created, maintain the branding, and I can use that, that'll be interesting. I'm also going to be looking at Descript, which claims to have eye contact technology. So you can be reading from a script, which would normally make your eyes go do down the lines, but it can make it look like you're looking at the camera the whole time.
Oh, interesting.
So this is great for people who can read a script and sound like a normal human being.
Yeah, exactly.
So it fixes you don't have to memorize everything. You can read from a script and it looks like you're just engaging with a camera, but you do have to. I can't just give this to my clients who don't know how to read aloud because that's its own skill.
It really is.
But I think for some types of content that might be actually really helpful.
Yeah.
When it's just, hey, I need to look at the camera, I need to sound engaging, and I can be reading the whole time and my eyes
That's
just
cool.
maintain content.
Oh, I hadn't heard about that one. Yeah. I wish I would have pulled the name of the presentation builders. I've been trying, like I said. So lackluster. I've not been happy with them, but it's probably good that I'm not bashing on anybody. Anything you're trying, Samaria?
Honestly, I haven't been trying anything new. I've just been trying to hone my skills in the AI tools that are offered. So like in Canva, kind of learning how to use their brand. So they have these like brand kits now. And so I'm trying to learn how to use their brand kits to create templates automatically.
Oh, nice.
That we can just shift around. Because they do have a feature where they like have like your brand kit and they create the templates for you.
Yep.
So I've been trying to figure out how to use that one. The other thing, like I said, I've just been playing around with those weird picture makers and trying to perfect the language that should be used in order to get the result that I want to get.
Yeah.
And also trying to figure out just how to effectively communicate with AI. Like same thing with the chatbots, like what I want them to do, because what I've learned is it like takes one word to be off and they'll do the total opposite thing of that you need to do. Or like, for example, the thing that irritates me most about Google Gemini is sometimes I'll write something and it'll have somebody's name in it, but I don't need you to worry about the name. I just need you to repurpose this. Obviously put the name in it, but like, I don't need you to tell me about this person.
Yeah.
It'll come back and it'll be like, oh, I don't know anything about this person. I don't know enough. So maybe you should give me another prompt. And I'm like, oh my God, I've written this prompt like 6 times. So it's one of the
Stop
downsides.
arguing with me.
Yeah. It's like one of the downsides of AI is that sometimes if you're not communicating with it in the way that you need to, or that it needs you to, it'll just kind of be like, I'm not doing that. I don't know what you're talking about. So I guess for me, just trying to perfect the language that I'm using in order to get the robots to listen to me and me not being controlled by the robots.
Yeah.
I have a funny story
Yeah.
about a client who was trying to use some of the voiceover tools for some of their videos, and they had to actually input like incorrect prompts because they were writing about decks, but it wasn't pronouncing the word correctly. And it was like over and over and over again. And so they ended up having to change every instance of deck to duck to get it to say a word that sounded more like deck.
Yes.
So sometimes you have to play the game the AI way and tell it to do the wrong thing to get it to do the thing you want it to actually do.
Yes. Oh my God, you can't make this stuff
The
up.
other thing too about those, like 11 Labs, one thing that I learned is like, you have to actually, like, you have to use the casing in order to get it to do the right inflection. Because
Yes.
if you have a lowercase, sometimes it'll drop down and do like this weird voice. And then it'll come back up. Or it'll do something that's just a little bit, like in the middle of the sentence, it'll be like, okay. And it's like, no, I needed you to say that's okay. I didn't need you to be like, that's okay. Like that just doesn't make any sense. So yeah, so I definitely, with those tools, you do have to do sometimes like the wrong thing in order to get it to the right thing. But I haven't had that problem yet.
Those are really good tips, though. Really good tips for people to realize like how to hack the system. So to get it to do what it wants. Okay. Graphic designers. I mean, Samari, do we kick this over to you first? Like, are you excited about where it's going? Are you sad? I know you're not a traditionally trained graphic designer, but you do loads of design. So what do you think?
To be honest with you, I am not really interested in AI for graphic design. And the only reason why is because so far I haven't been impressed by a lot of it that's coming out. And maybe in like the next year or so, somebody's going to wow me and I'll just be creating graphics, telling it like, hey, I need you to put this here, this here. But as of right now, I haven't been super wowed with the tools that I think you mentioned one of them earlier, that are meant for advertisers. And they say, put in your, your fonts, put in your colors, all these things, and then we'll come up with a template. And sometimes they're not editable because I don't know if that one is. I know that there's a few out there that aren't necessarily editable. You just have to say, okay, recreate it.
Right. There's 5 options. Pick one if you don't like it too bad.
Yeah, pretty much. So like, I'm not really, another reason why I'm not interested in it too is because I feel like because the AI is most of them are pulling from the same source, eventually everything's going to start looking the same. And we're already having, in my opinion, kind of an issue where everybody is kind of going flat with their design. And nobody's doing anything cool per se. And nobody's doing like, I don't say nobody, but like there's a lot of companies who have changed their logos to be monochrome, boring, flat. And I fear that as time goes on, we will keep losing color and we will keep moving that way, like to, I guess, everybody kind of looking more of the same. So I think AI is going to start moving that way.
Yeah.
And I'm not really interested in that. So I tried, I don't mind the Canva thing, like where it's like, okay, well, we'll give you some AI generated templates because this is what you said your voice is. This is what you said your messaging is. I don't mind that because I can change it myself. Like it'll be great. The words will be great. Sometimes the design's not great, but it is what it is. It's AI. But I don't want anything to make that decision for me flat out. So.
Yeah, agreed.
So one of the reasons I wanted to dive into this topic is, as you know, I've been interviewing lots and lots of graphic designers.
Yes.
So because I'm curious and I want to know their attitude toward adopting new technology, one of the questions that I've been asking is, how do you use AI in your work?
Yeah.
And I'm talking to people who are fresh out of college to people who have 30 years of experience. So broad range of attitudes. And they kind of fall into 3 buckets in terms of the responses. I get people who say, well, I don't use AI at all.
Yeah.
And it was like,
Yeah.
Obviously, they think by the question I'm asking if they use
it in replace. That's
to
a good
replace
point.
their own creative ability.
Yeah.
Not how I phrased the question, but it was interesting to see that response.
Yeah.
And I totally agree. If you are an artist, yes, the creative spark needs to come from you, the imagination, the thinking outside the box, because AI only knows the box.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't care how generative it is, it's generating inside the box.
That's right.
So there's the attitude of no AI. And of course, artists are having their work stolen their work is being devalued. So there's a lot of emotion tied up into that.
Oh, for sure.
I've got the second bucket of people who are like, I use the tools that are in the platforms. So Canva, we get a lot of good response on.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I can remove backgrounds in Photoshop. That's AI.
Yeah,
yes.
so much faster.
I can do this in Canva. It creates templates, and it's basically I'm using it to speed things up. Here's some templates for me to choose from and refine to make sure it's on point with the brand, to improve upon it. But it's giving you some starting places and some ideas.
Yeah.
And then once in a while, you'll hit somebody who's like, yeah, I use that to streamline my workflow. I'm like, I like the way you think.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
So, and it's actually, the attitudes don't line up with how long people have been in business in the way that you would think they do.
Really?
So the attitudes around AI, bad, they fresh out of college, I'm more likely to hear that from that persona, because they're seeing it, from the perspective of this is taking my future job away.
Yeah.
Whereas people who've been doing this for 20 years, they're like, oh, this is easier, this is easier, this is easier.
Yep.
And they don't necessarily feel as threatened because they know all of the other stuff that you actually have to have.
And have produced so much value.
Yes, they
good
understand the human side of it and how to have strategic conversations around things like brand identity, which is where the real value
for sure
is.
Yeah.
So I just thought it was very interesting to have so many back-to-back conversations with people who are, in the midst of this complete transformation of their area of specialization and expertise with AI tools.
That is surprising. I love hearing that because it's very, it gets funny when you hear it out loud. You're like, oh, I can totally understand that, but it's not what I would have predicted,
right.
Where the answers were going to come from. That's awesome. I love it. Okay, I think the final thing that we were talking about and some of the questions that we've fielded is about AI applications for B2B selling. So I'll let you kick this off, initially, and then I'll chat about like some of the things that we're doing with one client in particular. But where does your brain immediately go for this type of thing?
My brain immediately goes to social selling.
Yeah.
So how do you communicate at scale in a one-on-one style? And we've talked about this at length in our episode about social selling, which you should go watch if you are in a B2B selling position right after this. And so what are the ways that you can create that personal one-on-one interaction? How can you launch it using AI so that you can scale that communication? That's the very first place that I go to. But you're, of course, talking with clients, prospects much further into the pipeline. So talk to me about your latest tool that you're using.
So, well, before I think about that, like from a client perspective, we're now starting to use AI to crunch data insights and to validate buyer personas. So, obviously for any of you that have watched us, for any amount of time, how vigilant, we are about getting your buyer personas. And we typically lead with a workshop perspective, but we've got a client right now that sells across so many verticals, and the buying patterns are so different. And some of those industries have wind at their back, whereas others, are really coming into some friction, and we're about to see, or we are starting to see, a decline. And so focusing, how do you give data insights and analysis to a sales manager in order to untangle that spaghetti and really use buyer persona, industry, market insights and market intelligence found in their CRM in order to coach and improve, what are the salespeople focusing on? And then we're going to eventually extract that back into SEO, and because there's so many opportunities for them to win, but which ones from a buying perspective do they need to be winning now? What's the low-lying fruit? And I'm really excited about that. So maybe we have an analyst overseeing it, but it is a lot of AI data analysis and validating the playbooks. And, that's really exciting. And then to move over, you were asking about like what I'm using. I've always loved online proposal generators because they can up-level the perspective, they can increase your efficiency, and some of those latest, proposal documents online, they're just so elegant. They can connect to your terms and conditions and your pricing and your videos and your customization, and you can do something so rich. Pull in Fathom AI, pull in those insights, make it really personal, and you are spending less than an hour just creating something so mind-blowingly beautiful and personalized for that client. And I love that. I mean, talk about just really living in your mastery, you know, and really taking a lot of thought, you know, and it looks like a lot of attention to detail. Now, you know, you had to train it, and I'm still building, like, you know, the different modules out, but I am so excited about where this goes and how much it's going to support prospective customers and clients and apply it to them once we get really good at this. So that's one of my favorites, because it's just, I mean, it's just going to make the buying process so much more efficient on both sides. So
For sure.
Yep.
All right.
I know. Samaria, any questions we're forgetting? Any things that you're like, okay, we did have this one other topic that we need to bring up around AI, or you think we've covered it?
I think you guys have covered it, to be honest with you. I can't think of anything aside from everyone beware. No, I'm kidding.
And I would actually just like to close by saying, if there is an AI tool that you are using, drop it in the comments. Please share that, because we would love to check it out. We would love to try it, and we'd like to have you be part of our community, providing resources to other marketers, other sales teams, and business founders, because we're all learning this together.
Yeah. It is so funny. This will probably be one that we do a year from now again. And
We will.
just continue to update and repeat and just track where it's going. So thanks you guys so much. Glad to see you on here. And make sure, if you have not, please hit that subscribe button. Also, you can get alerts when we go live, and we do base these on you. So we love you. We'll see you next time. Pass on the word about us. Onward and upward.